Thank you. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another session of the Answer Game Podcast. I'm your host, Val Honus, coming at you. Hope everyone is having a productive week thus far. Had to adjust something there. But like I said, hope everybody's having a productive week so far. I'm glad you are joining us for another session. It's going to be a very interesting session, international session with Mr. William D. Frazier out of Shanghai, China. Mr. Frazier is an international entrepreneur in the import-export business. As a matter of fact, the name of his company is Shanghai to America, Import-Export Ltd. Has a lot going on and has a lot to say, especially now considering the obvious of what's going on. We had a special talk with him where he gave out some major information, was really dropping some bombs, and I hope you enjoyed this interview like I did. If you're smart, you'll take notes. You'll listen to this a couple times because it really gave some insight into what we should be doing over here. And to be honest with you, just based off of what he was saying, it's going to last a minute over here. You're going to see why. But before we do, I just want to let you know, again, this is a session of the Answer Game Podcast. If you want to find us, all you have to do is go to Spreaker.com. That's Spreaker.com/Answer Game Podcast. If you can't find us that way, just go to Spreaker.com and put the Answer Game Podcast in the search engine and follow us. Also, you can find us on Facebook at the Answer Game Podcast. Just put that in the search engine and like and follow us. And last but not least, find us on Instagram. That's answer_game_podcast. And you will be able to follow us. I need to update that page. We're going to start doing live sessions from that page too once, the audience builds up, that type of thing. And I'm looking forward to that. And you should be looking forward to that too, because we have some great talks coming up. We had some great talks last week, and we have been recording like crazy. Because bottom line, we have a lot of downtime on our hands. People globally have a lot of downtime on their hands. And I've always been wanting to get this podcast going on the regular, and it's been a challenge. Really, it's been a sort of indifference to getting the job done. And I couldn't see a better opportunity now to do that. And we're taking advantage of that. And we're having a good time doing it. Edited my first session by myself the other day. So we're going by leaps and bounds over here. I'm excited. I'm very excited to be a part of that process. And hopefully you are too. If you want to speak with me, speak with us, we're growing. All you have to do is become a part of the Answer Game Podcast Facebook page and message me. Let me know what you want to talk about. And really, the obvious being what's going on right now, I really want to hear from you. I want to hear people's testimony. I want to hear people's story on what they're doing to not just pass along the time, make this a very productive period, because this could go on, let's face it, another 2 or 3 months. Just based off of how people are reacting. Guys, if you are not following protocol, what I mean by that is wearing your mask and your gloves on a regular, and I'm guilty of that too. You're really doing the community a disservice. This is real. I can't stress that enough. It hit me pretty hard last week because I have a cousin who contracted the virus, and I did an interview last week with a fraternity brother whose wife has had the virus for the past couple weeks. And the way he described it, it was no joke. If you want to hear the interview, you should. By Mr. Zach Shahid. I posted that on Friday. Check it out. He has a lot of good stuff to say about business, about prevention, all that good stuff. It had me shook. I admit that. It had me shook. But again, we're having a conversation with Mr. William D. Frazier, another fraternity brother of mine, chapter brother. And we have a lot in common. We're both entrepreneurs. We're actually both born on the same day, February 23rd. So a lot of connection there. I've been meaning to have this talk with him for a very long time, and we finally got a chance to do that. I think you'll find this interview very insightful, very helpful. At the same time, very optimistic. That's a word. No, seriously, he gives some good insight into what we should be doing over here to take advantage, of the situation for the good. But I'll let you be the judge of that, okay? And here we go.
Had started. So when they started closing schools and didn't allow people to travel in and out of neighborhoods, and had food in the grocery stores and the pharmacy, and a lot of things were still operational, but main thing was closed. Requiring people to wear masks. Even now, we still have to wear masks when we go outside. And the way that they had closed down Wuhan was basically learned from the previous time, and that is the problem I see that the U.S. and other countries are facing right now, in that developed countries, rather, are facing that right now because they haven't had that practical experience on how to implement something so rapidly, and they didn't take it seriously, in my opinion. And that's the fault of those countries, and why it's spread so fast and things of that nature. Other things happen as well, but not being able to get on top of it quickly was one of the main things that that prevented the spread of it, and that's why you have some problems besides of the lack of medical equipment and supplies. But on the back to your question about did it hit? Yeah, family member told me about it, but that's the only one. I really don't know who else is affected stateside. I'm not there, and I'm not getting a phone call saying this person has it or that person has it. I'm not getting that information. So I really can't say too much on who is affected, but I hear a lot of people about friends and family members on their side that had that, that's affecting them in that capacity. So I'm quite sure that down the road there will be more people that I will become aware of. But coming from a small town in Georgia, it's not that many cases. I think maybe 20 cases, I think. So not like they're doing in Albania, places like that.
In Brunswick, you said it's 20 cases?
It's something like that. It's a double digit. It's double digits. I didn't get the last update, but 17. And I have to verify those numbers, but it's double digits.
Okay. Now, you're an importer, exporter, international entrepreneur. How's this affecting your business?
Actually, it's the good and bad part about what I do. And the good part is, everybody, when you're in business, you like to have business. It's good to have more business. But in this type of situation that is surrounding the business is people's lives, people, safety of people is really being affected. And it's not too, to me, I mean, you have to make money, in your business. But for some tragedy like this, that kind of has an impact on you. But you have to look at it at, like now it's like, I'm trying to save people's lives, help to save lives, not to benefit from people's misery, but to prevent more misery as it may happen. But the way that it's working now is somewhat of a advantage because with all the lack of air travel, if you look at air travel, nobody's traveling nowhere right now. Between countries, but inland they may be traveling, but between countries that pretty much just halt. There's still some flights that international flights that are happening. You just got to figure out how to get where you want to go. So it's still happening, but not on a large scale like it was in the past. And then you have people who are doing business in China, but they're unable to come back to China, you know, because right now China, like most countries, are not allowing foreign nationals to enter their countries right now, which is understandable. So, and then with this problem, you know, a lot of people want to get medical supply, or they want to get PPE items, but they can't come to China to do that. So they're calling upon me to, you know, source products for them, or go visit factories for them, or help them with their shipping, logistical issues, and all of that right now. So that's picking up because people need it, but they're not able to come here, and so that's the plus side. But you know, it's the bad side that, you know, the reason behind it, you know, because of the COVID-19, the bad part behind it. But you know, so
COVID-19. Well, we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that. It's funny you mentioned. Now let's get into it now. It's funny you mentioned that because I just read an article the other day. Like I said, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I believe in truth, and the truth is, you know, at first it started as a coronavirus, then just so happened that they changed it to COVID-19. And for those of you who don't know, if it was an article came out a couple of weeks ago that if you put COVID, if you translate COVID into Hebrew, of course you would get a Hebrew dialect, but then if you translate that same phrase from Hebrew back to English, it would come with COVID. And it just so happened that, you know, Kobe died a couple months ago. So from your opinion, is this related to his death?
I don't know. I'm not deep into it like that. I have no idea. I don't know. That's beyond me. I can't put those two together. That's beyond me.
I tried to go there with you, bro.
I can't. I have nothing. I don't know. I have nothing on that one.
All right, that's cool. Now go ahead. Do you think? What are you saying?
No, but I mean, it's a lot of opinions that people are having about this virus, how it came to China, and how, you know, what effects it's having on the global. You know, it's a lot of opinions on that, and I'm not a scientist. I'm not a politician, anything like that. I'm just I'm one of the few Black American men that actually have lived in China, that's currently living in China for this extended period of time. I first came here in 2000, and here it is in 2020, and I've seen a lot of things that have happened in this country that totally just amazed me on how they are able to change their economy so fast and so rapidly. That, you know, most countries, some people may admire, some people may silently are jealous of it, in my opinion, because what they intended China to be didn't work out in their interest, didn't benefit them as they thought it would, and now there's a sense of resentment, in my opinion, of the development of the growth of this country. I mean, you can go back to for 40 years, you know, since 1978, when they had the open door policy, until the present time. So what is it, 50, 78 to now, what, 40 years? 88, yep. 98, 2008. Over 40 years, right? 42 years. And when they first started, you know, China was like the number 6 economy in the world, you know, behind Germany, Japan, all behind them. And now it's number 2. So, but because of this, who's to say if China won't be the number 1 economy? But there's a lot of reasons why, you know, they initially wanted China to join the WTO back in 2000. And this is all documented. You know, I don't know if you know about it. It's all, you know, documented. You know, you can just look it up. And they used to start. When I say they, I'm talking about the United States. Really was behind China becoming part of the WTO, which was started after World War II to bring the world economy to more in line with each other, which was the brainchild of the UK and the US, the WTO. So when they wanted to bring China in, they thought maybe if they bring China in and people started making money, and then the population would start wanting to be a more democratic society. But it didn't work out that way. And so, and they got upset that it didn't work out the way that they wanted it to work out. And then, of course, they allowed a lot of American corporations to transfer their jobs, their manufacturing resources to China. And so now you see that 40 years later, you see what has happened as a result. Not just the U.S., but a lot of countries have done that. So you just can't say the U.S. is the only one that does business in China. Everybody pretty much does business in China.
Right. Now, I mean, what have you seen as far as why China is driving so much? Is it the culture? Is it, I guess, the laws established? Well, what is it that puts China ahead of everybody else?
Well, you had a chance when China was like the turn of the century. China was invaded, by a lot of Western power. You had the Opium War that really humiliated the country, and then you had the Japanese invaded during World War II that really humiliated the people, and they decided that they're just not going to let that Western influence dictate how they run their country anymore. And that's my opinion, that's the basis of how this country is so strong and able to maintain this strength for centuries. It's the only surviving country, century-wise, the only one that's left that hasn't been totally taken over by anybody. If you really look at it, I mean, it's the only one that's standing alone. But I think that when you look at the economic growth and you look at how it was done, it was done in a magnificent way. If you look at it, they didn't use the threat of war on anyone to come to China to develop their product. They didn't do that. You didn't never hear about it use war. They just made it a reasonable offer to the world. They said, okay, we got cheap labor, and we got land. Now, if you want to come over here and establish your company, your business, you can, but you have to pay certain entry fees. You could lease the land for industrial for like 70 years. You can lease the land, and after that, the government gets it back. The government owns all the land. Let's just be upfront with that.
Okay.
You could develop residential areas for 50 years, and after that, the government takes it over, and everybody like, okay, yeah, I agree that. And these corporations, they saw 1.4 billion, 1.3 billion people. They figured, hey, I could come to China and sell all my goods to all these Chinese people, make a lot of money. See, and that was their bottom line intention, to come here and make a lot of money and sell to China. So they didn't think about would China buy into what they were doing, or would China change its political system just for them to be here. If they came and bring all that Western influence, they thought maybe that we can influence it to change the way, but it didn't work out that way at all. And if you really look at it, when you look at how people here, you heard about people, they strive on education and things like that, and they strive on, and of course, you always hear about anywhere you go in the world, you can pretty much see black people and you can see Chinese people, right?
That is true. That is
right?
True. Yeah.
Right. But when you look at what Chinese people are doing, they will go out and they will send their kids to universities all around the world. Okay, when the kids in the university in different locations throughout the world, they're learning the language, they're learning the culture, and they're learning how they do business in that country.
Bottom line, that's the game plan.
That's the game. That's what they're learning: the culture, the language, and how they do business. And then when they're learning that there, and then you got these companies coming back here to establish themselves, and you got those kids that will learn and train in those countries at the university, and they come back with that knowledge. What else do you expect? They have learned about everybody else on how they do things, right? They learn everybody's way. So they take that and they tweak it to fit their economy, to fit their country. And then they turn around and start producing things that they knew that somebody else in this other country likes. So they turn around and tweak it and fix it and make it totally different.
But then they come back to that country and start buying up, land.
Well, you can't buy the land here. You can't buy land here. You're
No, I'm
gonna
saying
lease the
what. No,
land.
I'm saying what the China, what is China is doing, because pretty much their influence. We'll put it this way. I uh I started to, well, I knew China was growing, but I didn't understand how far or how big they were growing when until I talked to people from my home country of Jamaica, and pretty much in Jamaica they saying China has took it over. And then I talked to other people in other countries, in Africa and stuff like that. They said that the influence of China is, continually spreading, especially in Africa, especially
Yeah,
over here in the States,
yeah,
If you see
yeah,
a lot of these abandoned houses, a lot of people from China own them. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So I guess that's my game plan. They're trying to, I guess it's not going to be it's going to be China supremacy coming up in the near future, if not already.
What? It's a lot of influence in that. It has a great influence on. But if you look at it this way, if you look at it in this capacity, right? Before China really came on the scene, say year 2000,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Now you had all those Western countries for what, 50, 60, 70, 80 years
Yep. Yep.
to do something on a global scale to the
Yep.
magnitude that China did within the last 20 years. And they didn't do it. They would go and give foreign aid, like for famine relief or disaster relief, but they wouldn't go and build up infrastructures in these countries. They wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So China come along and start building infrastructure, and everybody like, start crying and like China influence. Wait a minute, you had all these years to do it. You used the World Bank, you had all International Monetary Fund, you have all these resources to build up these countries, but yet you did not do it. But yeah, hey, I don't. That's just the way I see it.
That's business. It's good business.
That's just the way I see it.
Right. Right.
That's just the way I see it. So they can't.
Right.
Yeah, they can be mad all they want to. They had their chance and they didn't do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They didn't do it. So somebody else figured out a better way of doing it. It's called soft power.
It works. I mean, it's definitely working. It's definitely working. Now, over here, we are. I guess they can say we're under the quarantine. I guess a semi quarantine because I still go out. But I go out. When it's for a purpose. Like I went out yesterday to. I'm in the auto business. So I went out yesterday to. To meet a couple customers. Now I talked to a young lady in Qatar, and she said they're totally quarantined over there. Like if you step out, you're going to get arrested. And over in the Middle East or Dubai area, they don't arrest too many people. But on that first day that they put in that order, she said they arrested 9 people just to make a point. How was life over there? Did they have those type of laws in place to where you couldn't leave the house and that type of thing?
Well, the most popular place that was quarantined was in Wuhan, the Hubei province. That's where the epicenter of the coronavirus started in China. So that whole province, the whole city, that was pretty much quarantined. That was pretty much locked down. Okay, I'm not there. I wasn't nowhere. I'm like over 500 miles away from there. But for the remainder of the country, what they did is this is what they did. Very red from day one when it came really out. They did 4 things, in my opinion. They identified, they separated, they treated, and they monitored. They identified people by, like here, every community is gated, and every entrance has a doorway, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in your community, you had to have like a card to go out of your community, and the same card to come back in. Now, every community has a gate card, all of it. That's just the way China is.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you did not live in that community, in that neighborhood, you could not come in. Somebody had to come vouch for you for a little while, but at a certain point, if you didn't live there, you could not come in. Okay. And when you tried to come back into your community, I mean, when you go out to get food and stuff like that, but when you try to come back into your community, they would take your temperature. right
What?
there on the spot. Yeah, they still do it today. They take your temperature. So I get my temperature check every day.
Mm.
I get a free. Yeah, they check your temperature. Now, if you had a temperature that was slightly too high, they would tell you to wait a minute because they figure you've been walking outside, stress, whatever have you. Give you a few minutes to let your body calm down. And
Mm-hmm.
if it was still too high, you would have to go to a designated hospital to take another test. Maybe testing for a flu, influenza, or some other thing that caused your temperature to rise. Okay, so that's the separation part. First part is identify, right? And of
Mm-hmm.
course you have to wear a mask. The separation part is that you would go to a hospital, check your temperature, and if you feel that you had like a slight cold or slight temperature, you probably give you some medication and tell you go home, don't go nowhere, just cool, go home. But let's just say it wasn't that. It was much more than that. Okay, much more than that. And they do another test on you, like they test your lungs, because everybody getting tested lung with COVID-19. They test your lungs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't show that your lungs has any damage, you would go to another hospital. They quarantine you in another hospital because you're in that gray area. You're in that gray area that you're not sure. Yes, still you could possibly be. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you did have the symptoms of the coronavirus, then you go to another hospital. See, they separated everybody. So they wouldn't tell, everybody to go home like they're doing in the States. Everybody go home. Because you can be
Right.
infected and you go home and you infect your whole family. They go back, go home. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
here, once you identify, they separate. You don't get to go back home. You get separated. They go to different hospitals, different treatments and things like that to monitor you. Right? Identify, separate, treatment when you go to the hospital to get treated, and then they monitor you after you get treated. You have to have like a special code, like a traffic light. They get on your phone like you red, yellow, green. Red you can't get on the public. You going back to the hospital. Yellow, cautionary thing. Green, you're good to go. Okay.
Mm.
Now, also what they do is that every entrance you go into, you have somebody standing there with a thermometer to check your temperature. Just like if you
Mm.
went inside Walmart, like the Walmart greeter, instead of giving you a
Right.
cart, they give you a temperature
The
check.
temperature. Okay. Okay.
So, you get the temperature. You go buy your groceries, you get a temperature check. You go on to whatever place you had an entrance. It has an entrance. Somebody standing there checking your temperature, and they close the schools immediately. Kids start doing their classes online, which is understandable here because education is a big thing here. So they had the tools at their home to do schools online. It's an adjustment, and the schools are still closed right now.
Mm.
So that was an adjustment that they had to do for its education. So it wasn't that big rush to go to the grocery store and buy up everything you possibly could buy. That wasn't even came into a factor. It was like okay, this is what we got going on. Food is always plentiful. People are like, why buy all the food? You got people that could they got enough food to feed everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Every day. But and then what they stopped doing and what they allowed is that you have these different delivery services. Okay, just imagine express service like FedEx, UPS, DHL, and all of those guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and you live in a neighborhood. Your neighborhood has a gate. You have an entrance, one way in, one way out, something like that, maybe two or three ways in. But every entrance, you only have one entrance that everybody can come in, and as everybody comes in, everybody's getting their temperature checked, right?
Okay.
But here, they did not allow the express companies like DHL, UPS, post office, whatever. They did not allow them to come to your house.
Mm.
No, they did not allow them to come to your house. They would have a designated area where they have tables with tents just in case it rains. That everybody's outside with your packages. So they will call you. You come from your house with your card, go and pick up your package, and go back home. But before you go back home through the gate, you get your temperature checked. You have to show your card.
Hmm.
So the delivery people did not come to your door. Nobody came to your door. If you order food, you have to go outside to the main gate and pick up your food. even today. See the
See,
difference? See the difference?
I'm hearing your story. I'm hearing what's going on over there, and I'm thinking I'm relating that to how we're reacting over here. And brother, it's gonna take a long time to clear up over here. For the simple fact that I'm hearing you saying that when you go to Walmart, they take your temperature. Uh, you know, uh, you have to walk out to the gate, to get your food delivered to you. Well, over here, I'm thinking, okay, if a worker is going to be at Walmart, like I'll take your temperature, but y'all got to pay me. You know what I mean? If you know what I'm saying, the U.S., the post office, UPS, all that stuff is still running over here. Like
Yeah.
I was in my garage the other day, and a UPS man drove it to me. Just walked in, my garage while I'm sitting there and delivered my package. No gloves on, no nothing. Like with nothing. You know what I mean?
No man.
No
Man.
mask. People here
See?
driving around. You might see the police, but you know what I'm saying, not as much as you would think. So y'all it's totally organized over there. Over here, it's free flowing. Like, the governor, he did send a proclamation out, but he was hesitant because he was thinking, we still got to make our money. It's different over here.
That's the thing. It's different. It's thinking about making money, and I ain't thinking about saving lives and saving the spread of it. And that's how it comes. So it blew up so fast in the U.S. because everybody's not most people not walking around with masks on because there probably a mask shortage for one thing. And at the beginning, they were telling people not to wear masks because the first responders needed it. So nobody really took it seriously about wearing a mask. Now everybody's trying to get a mask. It's just totally opposite. It's just totally opposite. When I hear, I'm like, man, golly. There was none of that. It was none of that. I mean, when it shut down, when they shut it down. I mean, the hotel was closed. Forget it. You ain't going to no hotel. Movie theaters, forget it. Movies closed. Basketball courts, locked. Soccer fields, locked. Everything locked down. But yet and still, you could still move around. You could still.
But you had to do it in order.
Everybody started working. You had to do. I mean, you could go where you wanted to go. You could go anywhere you wanted to go, but it was nothing open. So basically, you could go for a nice walk, get some fresh air, but everything is closed. So it was cool because you knew that at least I could get me some food. At least I could get some medicine. At least I could ride my bicycle. I could go for a walk. Stuff like that. Just gotta have my mask on. I'm gonna get my temperature checked. You're gonna get your temperature checked. Everybody gonna fall in line. It was none of that. None of that. None of that. I mean, nobody. Go ahead.
So the people just fall in line. Because I know the government proclaimed and sent a proclamation out, but how did the people react? Did they understand what was going on and no type of resistance to the plan?
Right. Nope, none whatsoever. That's the thing about over here, man. I don't know. People may give a bad rap about China, and I'm not all over the country. Okay, I'm not in every household in China. I'm not in every province, every city in China. I'm not.
Right.
Okay? Let me just be clear about that.
Right.
But I've been over here long enough to recognize when they want to do something, they do it. They do it for the betterment of the country. The people do it for the betterment of the country. I mean, you have people volunteering. You have people because you have to have people at the gates 24/7. You already got security guards there anyway, 24/7. Even before COVID-19 happened, you still have your security guards. And you got to do another procedure.
Hold on, team, you're breaking up on me a little bit. You there? Hello? You there? Team, you're breaking up on me. Hello? Guys, we're speaking of a couple of technical difficulties here. Let me clear this up real quick.
Can you hear me?
Hold on, you're breaking up on me a little bit. Hold on. Can you hear me?
No. Let me just get to a better spot. Let me just move to a more stronger spot. But I can still talk.
Okay.
It's probably coming in better right now, right?
Yeah, I can hear you clear now. Yep. There we go.
Okay. I don't know what point I left off on. What's the last thing you heard?
It was like 10 seconds ago, brother. Talking about the people.
But I get. Oh, basically, I'm saying that when they had the when it happened over here, the people did not, there was no pushback. There was no pushback whatsoever from the population.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody felt. I was trying to find me some volunteer job. I'm like, I want to volunteer. I want to help out. I want to get involved. Um, but now you have like neighborhood committees and things like people like that monitor your neighborhood. Back at the house we call them like neighborhood watch.
Right.
You know, over here
Right.
it's neighborhood committee. They don't watch. They do things over here. There's more community involvement when they with certain things like this. But what I was saying is that I'm not all over. I'm not over the whole part of the country. But I've seen how when the government wants to implement a policy or procedure, everybody falls in line. It's no pushback.
Right.
There's no pushback. There's no pushback.
This is like I said, I hear this and it's almost why I get envious because I totally agree with what's going on over there because you talk about community watch and stuff like that. People call the police. You have security guards, that type of thing. Over here, if you do that, you're considered a snitch. You know what I mean? And you're sort of demonetized for that type of stuff. It's it's like they have a culture. If everybody follows the rules, that type of thing is just for the betterment of society. And over here is just all about it's material gain. It's money over everything, that type of thing. So I guess we can call this virus like the great. I guess it's a blessing in a sense that it's a great equalizer. It gets for us to be able to totally rid ourselves of this virus. We got to start thinking as one, and just totally get out this money over everything mentality. But the government will have to will have to follow in line with that too. Like they will have to put some type of proclamation out there that you just can't. Of course we live off of money, but you might have to go without receiving rent for a couple of months. You might have to give people supplies from the grocery stores rather than us having to paying for it. You might have to pay the workers a couple months or whatever without actually having them in the store because we're just in that type of situation right now. It's just no getting around
it. Yeah. Unfortunately. But I will hope that that people would look at how, particularly how small businesses could develop a better relationship on in international.
You're breaking up again, brother.
Can you hear me now?
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Uh-huh.
How does that sound?
Better.
What I'm saying is it would be more beneficial once small businesses start doing more for the community. It's kind of strange that you would have just Walmart and Target and Costco, maybe other companies. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Those are the main three outlets that people go to things. I mean, you down to 3 places that can supply your whole community. That is not a good look.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
That is not a good look at all.
Yeah.
With here,
Was that some good stuff? Okay, that is the end of part 1. I'm glad I had this backup plan in place because, as you can hear, some good stuff was being said. I know I say I'm too much. I'm cutting it out my vocabulary, but we're going to play part 2. And it gets deeper. It gets deeper. It's a great conversation we had. I'm glad we had it. I'm glad we were able to capture it. But go on and take notes. Okay? Excuse the technical difficulties. Hold on one second. Let me get this situated. We're gonna try our best to keep it going. But how are they treating you over there?
How am I treated in China? And when people ask me this, I put it like this. You and I can have an argument
Hold
and
up,
I
team.
want to go home.
So, bro, the last 5 seconds will jump though. Can you say that one more time, brother?
I said that you and I can have an argument here, a total blown out disagreement, and you get to go home and I get to go home. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
And what I'm saying is that the absence of violence over here makes your life, you know, private citizens cannot have a gun in China.
Oh, really?
Really. Guns are not allowed in China. You have some police officers that do not walk around with guns. So that's why I say that over here, I could argue with you all day long, man. And we both get to go home. I don't have to worry about you saying I'll be right back, or you ain't got to worry about me saying I'll be right back.
So, I mean, that's better for you not to have a piece on you.
You can't have a gun on. You cannot. You cannot. You're not allowed to. It's against the law. A woman could walk around the street 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning by herself and nobody would bother her.
So pretty much nobody gets arrested over there.
You got some people that need to be arrested. People get arrested now. Don't get it wrong. Don't get it wrong. But the everyday life, you don't have to worry about, the threat of having to look over your shoulder just because you're in a place that somebody could possibly have a gun and go shoot up everything. You don't have that. You don't have to. That doesn't even exist over here. I mean, the worst thing that happened over here to me personally was two things. Was that somebody stole my bicycle and somebody stole my phone. That's it.
Okay. Now.
That's it.
Okay.
That's the worst thing. Two things that ever happened to me over here. And somebody taking your bicycle is like somebody taking your car.
Right.
Because that's how you get around.
Right.
That's how you get around, right? And somebody taking your phone, I mean, that's a given. You live off your phone.
That's like taking your car.
People. They like taking your car, they like taking your wallet. Basically taking your wallet. Somebody taking your wallet. All your information is in your phone. So that's the worst. That's the worst that's ever happened to me over here.
Okay, now, say you would have ran across the person that stole your bike or your phone. What are you allowed to do?
If you're guilty of doing something wrong here and you get caught, people will admit that it's this thing that calls about called losing face, lose face, right?
Right. Okay.
And you're guilty. I mean, they have a very success rate here as far as conviction. It's like 99%. It's a very high conviction rate. Some people would dispute on how they achieve that number, but the point of the matter is that if I do something wrong, it's a less impact on me, but it's a more impact on my parents. It's a more impact on my family. It's a more impact on my family name. So everybody would know that I did it, but people would look at my parents and say, "How could you raise such a bad child?" Or they look at my brothers and sisters. How can you have such a bad brother and sister? They would look at my family and question my family. So that's how deep it goes.
So to become dishonored over there is worse than death. You might as well be dead.
Yeah, right. So if you did it and they know that you did it, people just go ahead and admit that they did it, because to just try to say that you didn't do it, you know, it's more like you shaming your family.
Wow. Wow. Could that
Yeah.
work? Could that work over here in the States? I guess how long would it take for
No,
us?
man.
The obvious answer is no. Well, I'm saying
No.
if we were to try that, how long do you think it would take for us to be able to live like that over here?
That may be the new. That may be one of the things that would change because of this. Um, we have to really, people always talk about being, takes one child to raise a village. It takes one village to raise a child,
Right.
and all it being about the
Right.
collective business ownership.
Mm-hmm.
People, you hear those all the time,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't practice it, and we know that we don't practice it, and we know that. And we're easily discouraged from going beyond our own borders. Even now, um, when certain individuals feel threatened, they will always attack another group of people. We know that they
Right.
will attack somebody just because they feel that they did something wrong or they wasn't prepared, so they got to find somebody to attack to say it was their fault that
Mm-hmm.
this is happening. It's not my fault. They don't want to take responsibility. I say that to say this, that right now, what we have to start doing, what we really need to do is look at what is our relationship going to be with China going forward. Because on a political level, we know it's screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
We know it's
Big
messed
time.
up, big time. But on a private level, private individuals, it's not. You know, there's a difference, and I'm not just there's a difference between how Asian Americans interact in America as as it is when mainland Chinese people. There's a big difference between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Both form of Chinese is a big difference. I mean, they give each other a hard time too.
Okay.
Because they're Chinese, they give each other a hard time. They do.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
our relationship, when I say our relationship, I'm talking about the Black American relationship. Our relationship is just dealing with Asian Americans. We don't necessarily deal directly with mainland China. And the reason I'm only talking about mainland China and not talking about South Korea and Japan is
Mm-hmm.
because we have military bases in South Korea and we have military bases in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
But there is no U.S. military base in China. Not allowed, won't happen.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. Right.
So there's a difference between the three. So we can easily go to South Korea and Japan because we got military bases there. When we interact with people on a local level because of military, right? But here,
Mm-hmm.
you pretty much have to learn. You pretty much have to do it on your own. And there's no direct relationship with Black America in China. Not one. It's an individual basis, yes, but as a group, as a whole, there isn't one. Now just imagine if after all of this right here's happened, everybody's trying to get masks, everybody's trying to get ventilators, everybody's trying to get PPE equipment and things of
Mm-hmm.
that nature because
Mm-hmm.
you don't have it in your local community. You don't
Right.
have it. There's no stockpile. What would happen if Black America actually, these organizations, all of our Chamber of Commerce, all of our urban leagues, any Black organization that you could think of, what would happen if they stockpile their own PPE equipment and their own medical supplies? So when it happens again, they can easily get it to the people that really need it.
Oh shoot. Things will change overnight.
Things will change overnight. And that's where we have to start looking at what they're. Because I hear what they're saying about China. I hear it. I say, I say to myself, it's a total distraction. And everybody knows it's a distraction, but why is it a distraction? The simple reason that if Black America really understand the economic impact that China doing business with China, understanding China could have on the Black community would change overnight economically. If China could go to Africa and build up the infrastructure in Africa and build up infrastructures in other countries and develop with less economically viable countries. What we supposed to have? What 1.3 trillion dollars? Black community supposed to have that on an annual
Spending
basis.
power. Yeah, spending power. Yep.
Spending power, spending power, and they're going to countries with not even nowhere near that economic power. And the development relationship with those countries, with those people, yet we don't do the same thing.
Mm.
There's nothing illegal about Black America developing a business relationship with China. There's nothing illegal about it. It's totally legal.
It's almost essential. It's a necessity to do that. Correct.
That's what exactly. Because after all this is done and over, because China's already ahead of the curve. Okay, China's already ahead of the curve, ahead of everybody right now.
Mm-hmm.
There are going to be products, there are going to be equipment, there are going to be things that's going to be developed by this country to make sure that whatever mistakes that they made now will be in place just in case it happens again. Just like when it happened with SARS, they created things during SARS that they implemented now. That's how I was able to minimize the spread of it, because they learned from SARS, prepared for the next time. So when it happened again, they're ready. So when it happens again next time, they're going to be ready again. But yet we're still daddling around, and that's why we need to come over and learn more about this country. Just like like they learn about everybody else. We need to learn about everybody else.
Mm. Now you said you've been over there for 20 years now. I remember when you went over there too. You took the total leap of faith. Like you went over there, you didn't know nobody, right? You just went over there and said, "I'm gonna do it," and did it.
Well, I haven't been over here 20 years. I first came over here 20 years ago on a study abroad program.
Okay.
I'm getting close to my 20 years, but I haven't, But might as well say 20. Why not? What's 2 years, right?
I hear you.
when you look at it, when you really look at it. Oh no, I met some people when I first came, but no, when I came back, I didn't know anybody over here.
Mm.
I didn't know anyone. Not really. No.
To me, where I remember, and I'll never forget this. Because I asked you this, I think it was after you've been over there for a year or two or something. I was like, what made you go? Or no, I think you was 40 at the time, and I remember this. I said, what made you go over there? And you just said, I remember you said, I don't like work for no damn body. I'll never forget you said that to me. And you went over there and did it. Now, I mean, what did you go over there and just I guess started selling stuff on the street, or how did you establish yourself?
Oh, no, you can't sell nothing on the street. We're not allowed to do that. Foreigners not allowed to sell anything on the streets. No, we can't do that. Actually, when I came over here, I came to work on my PhD in urban planning and economic development, and that's when I learned about how the country was developing itself, how land use. Like any country, they use your land to make money,
Mm-hmm.
and they utilize their land to make money by having a lot of foreign direct investors coming in to build whatever industries they want to build over here. Because that's just the way everybody felt that 1.3 billion people, let me go get a piece of that pie. Let me get a piece of it. And a lot of people saw that it was an opportunity to grow as China was developing. And one thing I told some individuals, it's a lot of skills that we have in Black America that we take for granted, even when you look at low skill jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And came over here, the hospitality industry. I'm getting to when I first came, the hospitality industry was just getting started up. They didn't really service Westerners that much. You didn't have all the big 5-star Marriott, you name those type of hotels, the Westin. You didn't have all those hotels over here at that time, right? Okay. So what they were doing was they were preparing for all Westerners to start coming here, but the staff did not have much experience working with Westerners. I mean, you're talking about people didn't have that much experience, with upscale hotel rooms. They had like maybe 3-star hotels back then, maybe a couple of 4s, but they didn't have the 5 and the big star hotels. Okay. So what they needed was people to train their staff on how to do the room, do the bedrooms, the hotel rooms, how to fold the sheets, how to make it look real nice, make it look Western, how to give it that Western touch, that Western feel, how to cater to Westerners, because people come in from the West. And I told individuals, they said, wow, I want to go to China. What can I do in China? I said, you have been working in the hospitality industry for quite a long time. You have been cleaning hotel rooms for a very long time. You know how to prepare a hotel room. You know how to do it. Why don't you go to China and teach that? And I got a pushback. I don't want to go to
I
China
know
and
you
teach
did.
nobody how to clean no hotel. I don't speak no Chinese. I'm
Right,
like, you don't,
right,
you don't. I
right.
said, you're not teaching the staff. You're teaching upper management. Upper management is going to teach the lower level. You just don't understand that the skill that you have is needed now in China because it's developing, it's growing. So you could go and make a lot of money teaching English on how to maintain a hotel.
Mm.
It's like a 5-year window, 5 or 6 year window. That's all you have to do. Travel around the country, different places, getting paid. They're giving you housing, and you just teaching people how to run a hotel, how you do hospitality, housekeeping.
How much money you think you talking though?
Back then, back then,
Mm-hmm.
shoot, man, you probably made about $20, $30 an hour. And we talking
Wow.
2002, 2003.
Wow. Wow. Ah. Now that's just in the hospitality. What about
That's just in hospitality.
okay, what about, sales? What about construction work? What about, skills like that?
Construction, construction, no, that's local.
Okay.
Unless you got a big international design firm. You got a lot of international design companies came over and designed a lot of buildings and things like that, and got paid for that. But that industry, that's pure government. That's government control construction industry. You can do design work, yes. Sales opportunity too. Because again, the country was growing, so you want to sell people. You want to have a sales team over here, um, that could go out and sell to foreigners to come to your city, to your hotel. You have a lot of conventions. You want to sell to foreigners to come join the conventions, and they come to the convention and they give you like free hotel rooms for like 3 days, 4 nights, or something like that. And the meal come with the hotel just for you to attend the conventions, just to get people to come. Government gives a lot of incentives for that type of stuff. They still do it to this very day. They give a lot of incentives on to do business here. A lot of them.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
and so right now, hospitality industry is over. But see, the thing about that was, what has shifted here a lot. You don't have that many expats here in China anymore. You don't have that many professional expats, the top level expats. You don't have that much in here, and the reason why was initially was that when expats came here, you had a remember I told you had a lot of Chinese people that would travel to other countries to go to college and learn how everybody did there.
Yep.
So the
Mm-hmm.
skill level, they obtained the academic portion of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the hotels in the industry, they were still catering to Westerners. So the Westerners, they had a lot of Western people come up with a high level position, but they always had to have an equal Chinese person to that position. So as the years change, this probably happened to you. It happened to me before too. Is that all of a sudden you start training people to do your job, and next thing you know, you don't have a
Oh yeah.
job anymore.
Yep. That definitely happened to me. Yes, sir. It only took one time. Excuse me, one time. It only took that one time to let me know it's never gonna happen again.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Mm-hmm.
that would happen throughout the years. Uh, high executive and people getting educated in the West, and they started coming back and doing majoring in the hotel and hospitality industry having those degrees, and they're bilingual. So it's an automatic attrition. Had more Chinese folks coming back to take those positions, and more Westerners just leaving and not coming back. And it was an economic impact too, because it's easier to hire somebody on a local package
Mm-hmm.
rather than hiring a foreigner here. You got to pay his salary, you got to pay the spouse's salary, and you got to pay for the kids who go to schools, and the school run like maybe $25,000 a year. You got like 3 kids going to school. That's a lot of money, right? And you're paying for the housing. The housing can run easily, maybe $10,000 a month. You know,
Mm.
that's
Mm.
a lot of money these corporations were paying. So it's best to just get rid of the expats and just hire somebody local.
Mm. Now you said that was a few years back. What opportunities do you see for Westerners right now?
If this hadn't happened, okay, COVID-19 hadn't happened, but it's still there. It's still there, but it's going to be much more difficult. The culture exchange. That's the difference. It's a lack of culture exchange in our community.
Mm.
Um, President Obama had this 100,000 study abroad program, something like 100,000 American students to come and do study abroad programs in China. And our kids really don't participate in study abroad programs at all. Well, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they do, but not to the
Not
level.
enough. Yeah.
Not enough, not enough. And that probably would be the industry that we need to look at getting into. Not just our kids, adults as well. Our adults as well, because if you're going to do business, if you're going to do business, if you're really going to do real business in China, you must have some type of relationship in Shanghai. You must have some type of relationship. It's no ifs and buts about it. Not anymore. Not even no. That's the thing that has to change. Even because there is no Black American Chamber of Commerce in China. There's no Black trade organization that represents Black business interests at all in China.
So we're not respected over there.
No, it's not that we're not respected. It's just that our Black asses are not here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how can you be respected when you're not even at the table to get that respect?
Mm. Mm. Okay, who would you say? I'm saying, who would you say though has respect over there, has the utmost respect over there?
I would give it to Stephon Marbury.
Mm. I've been
would give
hearing
it-
about that, brother.
I'll give it to him.
I understood they I know he has the shoe thing going on. He went over there, played ball, and they got a statue of him over there, correct?
Yep. He won a championship for the Beijing Ducks, 3 years championship. I give it to him on that level. I'll give it to him. He's done well here. I'll give it to him. I'll give it to him all day long.
Mm. Is it true they worship him like God over there?
I don't know. I wouldn't say they worship him like God, but the one thing I like about China, and I like about Chinese people, man, is that here you could come here and you could pretty much be who you really should be in life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, before Stephon, before he came, he says we had bad time in New York and all that. NBA career, pretty much,
Yeah,
washed. Nobody really gave them.
Yeah, they
gave him a
totally.
hard time.
Yeah, totally.
And he came over and he got his own shoe brand. Came over and won the championship. I'm quite sure, but would he want to have that NBA championship? I don't know. You have to ask him that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm quite some NBA teams had asked him to come back play with them, and obviously he said no because he's staying in China. I'm telling you, man, it's a different feeling you want to know how they treat me. It's a different feeling as a Black man from America to actually understand what it is to be free. It's a different mindset when you know that you can come to a place that you could be just pretty much free. You don't just be free about what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the atmosphere here is so energizing. It's so energizing. People just get it. They just get it. It's nothing just like it's born. They just get it. and you're in the midst of all of everybody getting it. When I say getting it, it's that entrepreneurial spirit over here that people really don't realize. I mean, it's on all levels, and people just they just all about being entrepreneur, all about being. Not everybody's not entrepreneur. Now you still got people who shouldn't be in business, and you still got people doing the service industry. But everybody got got their own. You got to hustle in a sense, but they don't talk about business over here, man. They don't sit down and talk about business. They just do it. Whereas in the States, we're always talking about doing business, but necessarily we don't. The system doesn't set up for us to do it.
As far as paying tribute, and I'm not going to get into technicalities of that, but I guess a difference. Well, obvious difference over here, you got to pay a lot in taxes, and if you don't file your taxes, you're going to have issues. If you don't, bottom line, if you don't get the government that cut, after a certain amount of time, it's going to catch up to you. Is it pretty much the same thing over there, or how do they collect their money?
Oh, they're going to get their money. I mean, there's no ifs and buts about it. I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, the government here, and everything is my opinion, of course. The government here, they don't really mind you making money. They encourage you making money. They encourage you to have a business, because when you have a business, you're doing a lot of things. You're putting money back into the economy. You are employing people, so that person doesn't have to be dependent on the government for social service or anything like that. And you're increasing the GDP. So with that, you have a certain level of economic strength that you could do. You could remain under the radar in a sense. As long as you got to have the accounting and they fill out your paperwork and all that, you can remain under the radar. But once you get at a certain level, then the government really steps in and takes notice of who you are, because you become more of an influence on what you're doing. They become more interested in your operation. I mean, you can even look at. I'm gonna use a prime example, like an Alibaba. Alibaba was started in 1999. Alibaba didn't have that much. Didn't gain the government's eyes that much until it got to a certain level. Until it got to that level when it started, going on the stock market. Maybe before then. That's when got the government attention.
It took Jack Ma like 10 years to really take his big business to that international level.
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah.
Again, everyone, we are speaking with international entrepreneur William Frazier of Shanghai-America Import-Export. Having a great conversation. I hope you guys are taking notes, to the ones who are listening in and not chatting. Go ahead and say hi. Say hi to us. Let us know you're here. Let Mr. Frazier know you appreciate what he's saying, because it's really giving us some good insight into what's going on and pretty much what we need to do from this moment forward. Mr. Frazier, I got a few other questions to ask. How much time I got with you?
Keep going.
Okay. So you said you had to make an adjustment in terms of how you do business, because, am I correct? Most of your business comes from America?
Yeah, pretty much. Other places as well, but majority is from America.
How are you doing in Africa? The continent of
Africa, that's a good question. And how China is doing in Africa, that is somewhat of a disadvantage to me here, in that, of course, everybody knows China's invested a lot into Africa infrastructure and things like that. But I don't know if a lot of people don't know that there are a lot of Africans who get free scholarships to study at Chinese universities.
I didn't know that.
Yes, that's one of the exchanges that China has done with a lot of African countries. The kids come over here and they study in Chinese universities, free scholarships, and and like that. So they learn. That's the payoff. So they learn about China, and they develop their own businesses because once they go back to their home countries, they're able to source things out of China directly themselves. Or they would establish a business here and buy things and to ship back to their own country, back to Africa, because they understand how to do business in Africa. It's very difficult to do business in Africa because I don't understand how Africans do business.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that inside track.
I mean, if you relate to how business is done over here in the States, I mean, pretty much, let's use Nigeria as an example. Very productive people. They're, as far as in terms of how their GDP is, I guess the GDP of the country is not at the level it should be, but the people over here, they come over here and do very well. Now, as far as doing business with them, they have a bad reputation, very bad reputation. To the point now to where, me personally, I had a conversation with a guy last night, responding to one of my ads about my cars, and I just flat out asked him, okay, what tribe you from? And he told me he was from a tribe that was in Gambia. I was like, cool, because if you told me you was Igbo or Yoruba, I wasn't gonna mess with you. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And he started laughing because he understood. Now that's just in Nigeria, but in terms of other places like Ghana, they opened their borders up too.
Yeah.
So how they do business is sort of I guess that remains to be seen. What have you seen from your perspective?
Well, I visit Ghana and develop some good relationships there. But it's all about, you have to have somebody on the ground in those countries, and most individuals they're starting out their business, so they lack the capital. And for loan interest in Ghana is very high for small business, like 30% interest on loans coming out of Ghana for private businesses. So it's very hard for them to get that type of capital. That's why they're really pushing for a lot of investment into a lot of African countries. And that goes back to, a kid will come here from Africa, from whatever African country, he'll come and study at China University, learn how to do business in China, and then he will go back home. He'll develop his relationships here so he can start getting goods to and from China. That would not involve me at all, because they already have developed their own supply chain, their pipeline. And that's the disadvantage part about that. And then you have a lot of Chinese people will go and invest in Africa and build up a lot of different businesses there. But you will see that Black America, is not involved in that in a capacity. I mean, you have a couple of people who go. I'm not dissing anybody, but it's my observation. You would have people go to Africa to put on a concert, or go to do photo ops and stuff like that, and then they come back to the States. You don't necessarily see them. They've been investing in some schools and stuff like that. But when it comes down to the real money maker, like building the infrastructure, which is China's very good at building infrastructure. I mean, they could build highways, bridges, dams. They've already proven that faster than anybody. It's a given. You don't have. So when they need that, they look for China to do that, because one of the first things you got to do if you're going to move goods, you got to have a good infrastructure. So they build infrastructure so you can bring in the goods and services to move on the infrastructure. The transportation network. So you can't fault them. You can't fault them for that. And so China and Africa has a good relationship. Everybody may not think it's good. I mean, of course, people go in to get all the minerals and all of that, but at the end of the day, it's give and take. It's give and take, and then it's tribalism, and that.
Definitely that.
It's all about who's in power in those African countries that determines who's going to get what. And that's, we can't do anything about that. That's just the way African countries are. You just got to go with the flow. That's just the way it is. I mean, and I learned that from just talking to various people from Africa here. And then they have a lot of African chamber. They have a lot of African chamber of commerce here in China too. Again, that goes back to what we don't have. So you can't just ignore the fact that we don't have that organization here. Not you, but we just can't. We can't allow that to continue that way.
Which countries from Africa have a chamber of commerce over there?
They have like AfCham. They have one called AfCham. They have like African Business Chamber of Commerce. And they like, but when we Africans, you got a lot of kids from different African countries here in
Right.
Shanghai.
Okay.
So they have the organization that they've developed relationship with them amongst themselves to develop businesses opportunity in Africa for their countries, for various countries. Yeah, I mean that's just the way they do it. That's just the way it's done. I mean, even if look at it this way, even if somebody in America, like a person, anybody want to do business in Africa, it would be more easier to come to China to do that, in my opinion.
Than any other continent, in any other country in the world?
Yeah. If you want to do business in the world, you got to come to China. Simply because everybody else is in China doing business.
How much more time do you think the U.S. Is going to be at the top as far as influence, worldwide influence? Because I mean, the way I see it, I see the only reason that the U.S. is on top is because the consumer was spoiled over here. Not too many people don't know. I know this for a fact that to have a second car or a third car in another country, most countries around the world, is a total luxury. Where over here, it's like secondhand. You have that second or third car, you might have that weekend house, that type of thing, because there's a lot of stuff we don't need. That type of thing. How long do you think that's gonna last?
What, people will have second cars and third cars, or which part?
Well, I mean, what's the influence? How long do you think? I guess the U.S. is gonna be on top.
Well, here there's no Western influence in China, in my opinion. Not to that degree. You don't have people here. Don't have. I mean, you have some very affluent people, but there really isn't a need for everybody to have 2 and 3 cars in China. Because there are so many other means of transportation that's readily available for you. I mean, you can either have your own bicycle, you can get an electric moped, or you can ride the taxi, or you can ride the metro line, which is the train, or you can ride the bus to get wherever you want to go, or you can ride the fast trains. I drive over here. I have a license, I have a car, but I don't drive anymore. Not that much. Not that much. Because really not. Because this city, I mean, it's not really necessary for you to have all those things anymore. And they're moving making more environmental, those EV cars. They're making a lot of more of those. So they're really pushing to be more environmental friendly over here. I think the Western influence is it's fading out of here. I mean, it's fading. I mean, it's not as strong as others may perceive for it to be here. No, I don't think so. What time frame? It could be now. As a matter of fact, maybe COVID-19 is the final push to switch it over. China's already gaining the influence with going out and helping other countries to resolve this issue. I mean, you have a lot of developing countries that are coming up through this whole crisis. Even you got doctors out of Cuba are going to other countries to help them out. People who like doctors. Cuba's have one of the best healthcare systems in the world. I don't know if people realize that. And their doctors are going in and all of so it's I think it's now what we're going to witness is the rise of developing countries and the decline of developed countries. It's a shift. It's a global shift in influence.
Okay. Well, what would be your advice to, I guess, somebody like me that wants to do international business? Let's say I want to go to China this year. What if you was in my position? What would be your first step?
I would look at a trade show that focus on my industry. That's what I look for. I look for a trade. Whatever industry you're looking at, you're doing, what you want to focus on, go to that trade show. Just attend it. So you can get more exposure about whatever products and services that are here or whatever products and services that are not here. Then you will see. Yeah, attend the trade show. And the trade shows are pretty much, they're free here. They're pretty much free. And then what happens is not just you see businesses from China, but you see businesses from other countries that are there at these trade shows. I would say just block out maybe a week, 7 to 10 days. Because after the trade show, what you want to do is go visit the factories. Just in case you found something that you like, you probably want to go visit that factory and get more understanding of what they're doing, their capabilities.
And just look for the need?
Look for a need. Look for a need. Look for a need.
That's some good advice.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of needs that's going to be needed in the U.S. After the U.S. get past COVID-19. There's a lot of things that are going to be needed. A lot.
Like what?
A lot more small businesses in the neighborhoods. I think inner city neighborhoods will probably start getting more small businesses. They have to start doing more business in those neighborhoods. You can't just rely on 3 stores to supply everything you need in an epidemic or pandemic. That's not good. Most people don't have transportation to. No, you got to have more. Most people don't. You got to have more restaurants in the local area to serve the people. You got to have more fresh food in the area. You got to have more. You got to have more people that don't rely on television to entertain themselves.
So, I mean, what we're doing right now, we need to have more conversations. This is healthy.
Yeah. Because the way I look at it, I think the biggest problem with the U.S. is we're so focused on entertainment.
Yeah.
Simply because nobody can watch sports right now. Simply because you cannot go to a concert. Simply because those things in of itself do not exist right now. We having a hell of a time adjusting.
Again, guys, you are listening to Mr. William D. Frazier, based out of Shanghai, China. We're having a real good discussion here. I'm just going to ask you a couple more questions. I'm going to let you go. I know you got stuff to do over there. I want to take up all your time, but you mentioned about inner city supplies needed. What type of poverty have you seen in China?
Very little. They lifted maybe 900 million people out of poverty, 900 million people out of poverty. Very little.
So no ghettos. No ghettos. None of that stuff over
there. They probably exist. They did exist when I came to Shanghai. They don't exist anymore. No. They probably some areas that probably still need developing, but overall, no. Very seldom, very, very few. You don't see that level of poverty here like we see back at the house. No.
Wow. Ooh, okay. Well, any parting statements you want to give to the people over here?
If you don't, I hope that they allow. I don't know when it's going to happen. I would say several things we need to do as a community. We need to be more open-minded and visit other countries, not just in the Western Hemisphere, but go beyond that. There's much more that we can do to improve our community once we learn what's out there. Once we have gained access to all those things that help improve our community. And I hope that that through COVID-19 that will actually not just spark it, but actually make it happen. That we know that this is a global world, and we need to be more active in that process. We need to be more proactive in developing those things to make our community more safe.
That is
pretty much it.
That is. Mr. Frazier, we really appreciate you joining us, for us this morning, for you this evening. We really appreciate your words of encouragement, your words of insight. If the people want to get in contact with you, how do they do that?
You can look on my Instagram. It's William, WILLIAM_D_Frazier, FRAZIER, or my website, xmftrade.com, Shanghai-America Direct Import and Export Company. Or you can email me at Frazier, that's Foxtrot Romeo Alpha Zulu India Echo Romeo Delta Whiskey at X-Ray Michael Foxtrot Tango Romeo Alpha Delta Echo.com. So that's Frazier DW at xmftrade.com.
That's what's up.
That's how I can be reached. On LinkedIn, same thing.
Okay, cool.
It's crazy. Right. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
I don't think I'm connected on LinkedIn yet. I'm about to connect to you this morning. But again, guys, we want to thank Mr. Frazier for joining us this morning. Again, if you want to replay this episode, if you want to hit us for the first time, all you have to do is go to Spreaker.com, SPREAKER.com /Answer Game Podcast. If you want to find us, so just put the Answer Game Podcast in the search engine and like and follow us. You definitely, if you have any questions that you want to ask Mr. Frazier, you can do it that way as well. We're going to see if we can do this again in the near future. I do want to promote, for those of you who are in need of a vehicle, please give me a call at 404-480-2833. I'm of Greater Atlanta Auto Services for your auto needs. Again, that number is 404-480-2833. I would love to be able to serve you, especially during now. All right. That is conclusion of this podcast, and y'all have a great one.
Thank you.
Bruh, I appreciate you.